Okay, welcome everyone to the third edition of the SFI research tips and tricks. We have less than 1 hour and we'll kick off, see how much ground we can cover. So I welcome you all, and I believe that we'll all benefit from this session. All right. So for those who are joining us for the first time, this is a monthly program organized by the SFI to provide ourselves motivation and also highlight some issues that are topical, research-wise, and highlight some take-home message we can all take in advancing our research endeavor. So my name is Bright Nwaru, and I am the anchor of this program. So please relax and let's see what we can get. Use the chat box, please, to introduce yourselves. As usual, I'm going to send you to breakout session because I don't like having a monotonic presentation. It's good to get you involved because I believe you have a say in this aspect. So I will do random assignments to send you to your group, and I will give you 20 minutes to discuss and bring you back after that. Please, when you get to your group, appoint someone as usual who will come to present your viewpoint. All right, so that when we come back, those viewpoints can be presented by the person, and then we keep going on. Now let me show you what I would like you to discuss. The topic of today is who should be an author in a scientific paper. This may be obvious, okay, for everyone. Of course, anybody who wants to be an author cannot be an author. No, it's not like that. It's not obvious, and it can be a tricky situation. It can be a point of disagreement. It can be a point of different things can emanate from this. Believe you me, it can be a big issue. So it's something that needs to be handled appropriately, and it's something that researchers need to know how this is handled in reality. All right, so let me please take a picture of this. I will not keep it for too long. Take a picture of this. I want each group to discuss. Snappy, in 20 minutes, you should be able to get through this. Appoint a group coordinator who can coordinate this. Somebody is annotating my this thing here. Please don't do that. I can see the person, Ifoma Ugu. All right, so the first thing is we have different disciplines represented here, different disciplines. What is the practice of authorship and co-authorship of scientific papers in your research cycles? What is a practice? How do you decide somebody who is an author and so on? So briefly discuss that. Who is qualified to be an author in a scientific paper? in your research circles? Related to the first question as well. Have you experienced any tension in deciding the authorship of a scientific paper, and what kind of tension was it? Have you experienced any ills? And you know what that means, problems, any inconvenient situation, anything that you didn't like when deciding authorship of a scientific paper? What did you do to solve the ills? All right, so take a picture of this and I will send you to your breakout sessions. And so please appoint somebody to speak on your behalf. And when you come back, I will give you only 2 minutes to give us a highlight of these issues. Just to mention that there will be opportunity to send the slides of my presentation today to anybody who wants it, but it will be an indication that you want, so that we can collect the email. So I will send a link when you come back, which you can use to indicate whether you want to receive the slides. So we have a collection of emails we can send this to. All right, so now I will send you to your breakout rooms. This is done randomly. I will see you in 20 minutes time. I hope you have taken picture of this. Please choose your room and go to your breakout rooms and work on the discussion. All right, welcome back. Who is representing group 1? Please raise your hand and I will recognize you to give us what's highlight of what you have discussed. Group 1, who is representing group 1? Please raise your hand. I don't see anybody. Okay. Group 2, is that Waiter group 1? Waiter, can you unmute yourself and speak? Are you representing group 1?
Yes.
Please go on. Please go on. Snappy, please.
Thank you very much. I'm presenting on behalf of Group 1. Our slide is not ready, but I can present. It's still not yet. So on the Group 1, for the first question, we talk about what is the practice of authorship and co-authorship of a scientific paper in our field. And during the deliberation, we agreed that the one that conceptualized the topic, do the writing, is always the lead author. And if it's in a research group, it depends on the agreement of the group, and this can be a rotational basis. And that occurs most in medicine. In humanity, the research coordinator can be the lead author, and this also depends on the agreements with the group. If it's a big grant, the person that conceptualized the project becomes the lead author. For co-authorship, it is for all that participate in the research. It can be somebody that did the analysis, somebody that did lab work, and so on and so forth. Now, concerning question 2, question 2 says, who is qualified to be an author in a scientific paper?
Yeah, you have 1 minute, please.
Yes, part of the for the person to be part of the author, it must be part of the work, somebody that can conceptualize the work, somebody that did the write-up, somebody that also did the analysis. Now, for last question, which says, have you experienced any tension in deciding the authorship of a scientific paper? Now, yes. Now, some of our deliberation talks about in promotion, when the school said you must bring up paper first authorship. That is one of the problem when ranking becomes important. Not you need to look for a way to get the first author. Then,
okay.
Sorry,
can you quickly finish that in 20 seconds?
Now, the person must also be part of a research group, and they now. Sorry. Thank you very much, sir. Maybe I will stop there.
All right. Group 2, who is presenting for you? Who is presenting for group 2? I don't see any hand. All right, I have Abdullah Hamidu, please. I see 2 hands. I see Hamidu, I see Dabota. Who is presenting?
Thank you very much, sir. It's Abdul Hamidu.
All right,
Hamid
go ahead.
Abdullah. Thank you, sir. In our own session, in our own breakout room, we first of all had a problem of are we supposed to take all the questions, or we are supposed to only answer one? So we zero down answering one.
Oh, you zero down. Okay, go on.
So we zero down to answering one, and we are answered. The one we answered was that who is going to be the lead author, and we decided that if it's a student project being supervised by his lecturer, since he's the initiator of the idea, then the student would be the first person, the lead author, and then if there are other students, they can also be co-authors, while his supervisor will be the last author. Then if it is a situation wherein is a grant writing proposal, then the lead investigator will be the lead author, and then others will now follow suit. Then in the case of a lab work, in case of a lab work, it is decided that the author who did the lab work should be the lead author, while the others are co-authors. Then in terms of generally who is going to be the lead author, we decided that the person who makes the majority of the contribution in the research writing, such as the problem statement, hypothesis, methodology, and the discussion, conclusion, and the rest of them. Anyone who did more will be the lead author. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thanks very much. Group number 3, who is speaking for group number 3? Shadrach, eh? Shadrach, unmute yourself.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I'll be speaking for group 3. We're able to only attend to question numbers 1 and 2. So to question number 1.
Shadrach, are you there? Shadrach, we don't hear you anymore. All right, can someone else?
The practice. There's so many
Shadrach, we didn't hear every. Shadrach, we didn't
hear
hear all you said. I think you went offline.
the author should have contributed something, or maybe the author took part in research proposal, or maybe the author too might have been the author too might have been like the person that brought up the idea and all that, or even maybe someone you consulted during the research that gave an expert advice can also be included in the authorship. I think I personally also brought an idea that there's a practice in our setting where we include people that did not formally participate. Maybe they're our friends, maybe we just want to boost their paper publications and all that. But at the end of the discussion to question number 1, the general consensus was that for someone to be an author in a research work, the person.
Okay, let's go to group number 4. Helena Inti.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Helena, go ahead.
Please, I'd like to share my screen.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm representing group 4, and we looked at practice of authorship and co-authorship in our circles, and we shared that usually people who have the concepts, experts who have the concept of the work, who have the main idea, and secondly, those who are involved actively in data collection, those who are involved actively in data analysis, manuscript writing, and also are involved in supervising and managing the projects or research work are usually the ones who are authors and co-authors of projects in our circles. And then we asked who is qualified to be an author. And then we shared that the experts with the concept or the main idea, for example, the one who would have authority in the field and lead the projects. And then the one who contributes and leads field work, contributes actively and leads field work, is also qualified to be an author. And then thirdly, the one who is actively writing the manuscript and doing the review is qualified to be an author as well. We asked if there's tension in deciding who is an author, and we said yes. And usually the kind is who would be the first author. And we look at the weight of contribution, who brings in much of the financial support, who contributes more greatly to a manuscript writing, and whether the person is a supervisor or a professor, and probably someone needs a promotion, and so they may be forced to make their supervisors the first author. We asked if we had experienced ills in deciding authorship and how the ills were resolved. So we said yes. And one of them is the contention for first authorship. So who should be the first person on, who should be looked at as the main person for that particular publication. And then also putting non-participant name for promotion or appeasement. And this usually happens if you're a student and after doing a write-up, your supervisor would put up a name that you don't even know there. And sometimes you may not be able to help it. You may not be able to go contrary to what your supervisor is suggesting. And so when it's a kind of research work where like almost everyone is an expert in the field, usually the funders or senior faculty idea would be used to determine who is the author. And then,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let me take it from here. So what we are discussing today is a challenge in the scientific circle, except you have not published very well. If you have, then you realize that this can be an issue. And it's an important thing to discuss. And if for some reason you have a seminar in your institution where you work, this is one of the topics you should include. Okay, discuss it because it is important, very, very important. So that everybody will be on the same page. Everybody will be aware of the responsibilities. Everybody will be aware of the expectation that people have on them. All right. So I will show this. Many of you who have followed us will recognize this, always show it. Why do we do research? Okay. And this is UNESCO mantra, which highlight the fact that the research we do, or science in general, is there to ensure longer and healthier life, provide medicine to cure our disease, provide water for our thirst, to help us grow our foods, to provide energy and have fun. So the research we do is there to respond to societal needs and provide answers to our everyday situations. So in that case, what we do is essential. Is essential, very important. And throughout ASFI trainings, we try to emphasize on this. As a scientist, you become an important gatekeeper. You become an important civil servant. The society is looking up to you for answers. And so you must not take your work for granted. And because of the expectation, what you do is not about you. The society becomes the custodian. You are the tenant, the society is the landlord. So we respond to the society. we are accountable to them. It's no longer about you. You have moved from selfish inclination to community responsibility. And so what drives you goes much more beyond your career advancement. It goes beyond your career advancement. Okay. Yeah, I have put the link. If you want to get the slides, please fill the form there. And for all the groups, if you have slides for your presentation, please, after this, send them to me so that I can include it and share it with those who would like to have it. All right. So this is the scientific process. We know this is very simplistic, very simplistic. There are tons of things that you research hypotheses, you test hypotheses, you collect your data, you analyze, then you report your conclusions. Okay? You report your conclusion, and it is this reporting that makes what we do. You see, from here until here is internal thing happening. The scientists are covered with a very dark spectrum. People don't know what is happening there. Sometimes people pass your life, say, oh, these people wearing white, what did they even do? What did they do there? I don't know. In fact, since I was born, I always see people who wear white there. You see, that story is inconclusive, except it is taken outside their lab. And that is why I say here, this process is incomplete without communication and dissemination. And it is a must that you communicate and disseminate, because you are a tenant, you are responsible to the society. They have to get value for what they invest. Okay, so it's a social contract that you have to communicate, to disseminate. And your dissemination can also be internal, so that it goes to the scientific community, those who know what is happening here, And it is not complete if it only settles here. It needs to also go to the non-scientific community. And that is the era we are today, called science communication. Science communication, going beyond your peers, reaching the policymakers, reaching the funders, reaching the general public with information of what you do internally. So this process must be complete by dissemination. All right. Yeah, this picture is not very clear, but this is research outcomes we do. When we do our research, we address societal issues, inform policy, solve everyday problems, develop technology, build knowledge, advance knowledge, satisfy our curiosity. You can see that out of, there could be other things there, but out of the 6 listed here, on two relate to our own interests, advance knowledge, satisfy our curiosity as scientists. And this may also relate to the public, because the public may be curious. And so, what do we do here? You can see the value that is derived here. And so this must require effective multi-sector communication dissemination to achieve. For policy to be enacted, those who are enacting policies must have these outcomes in hand. The scientists have published, they are translated, and they understand what it means, and then they put up strategies to deal with this. All right. But problems arise when there is miscommunication, when there is faulty and fraudulent communication. It can be miscommunication. It can also be faulty and fraudulent communication. Those who attend our reproducibility course, you align yourself with this. The communication can be faulty, it can be fraudulent. And when there is also misrepresentation in the communication process, and that concerns one of the things we're talking about today, authorship. Sometimes people who are part of this communication process are not even qualified. And so what qualifies you to be able to engage in this process of reaching out to those outside your circle, within your circle? All right, who is an author in a scientific publication? A person who made a significant contribution to a journal article and takes responsibility and accountability for the research findings and content. This is loaded. This is loaded. And so when you are including somebody as an author in a paper, many times you don't even have idea of what an author is for yourself or for those you are including. There is no idea about this. But as scientists and as researchers, we have a definition we give to ourselves when we publish in the scientific circle. You must have made significant contribution to that work you're publishing. You are ready to take responsibility and accountability for what is inside. Some people have been authors without even reading the abstract. And their papers are published. Ask them, do you know the title? They don't know the title. They can't remember the title. That is fraud. That is misrepresentation. That is not what an author is. The social contract we have means that we should approach it with all sense of dignity. That what you are part of, you should defend it. You should know it and you should defend it with all sense of responsibility. This goes beyond, meeting somebody and say, oh, I would like to be an author. No, that is not the game we play here. But that is what is becoming common. Okay? But this is the right definition of authorship. So when next you're inviting somebody to be an author in your paper, you should think about this. And when somebody is inviting you, think about this as well for yourself. And so that we can go to the extent of dignifying ourselves by saying, sorry, I don't think I can be an author. Not that I'm not interested on the topic, but because I do not meet the criteria. Authorship can range from sole author 1 to infinity. It can be as many as possible. All right. Authorship order in scientific publication, this varies from discipline. Sometimes some disciplines approach it by giving the authors in alphabetical order, but in some other disciplines, it's based on level of contribution to that piece of work. Okay. Usually the first author or the lead author is the one who has made major contribution and has prepared the first draft of the manuscript, usually in most fields. The last author could be the principal investigator of the project or one who has supervised it, or what is usually called the project lead. And I think this is common across disciplines. Corresponding author is one that the authors have appointed to be the liaison between the journal and the authors and the public. All right, so that is what we know as corresponding author. Now, authorship requirements. This is the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. Okay, this is their requirement. This is in the medical field, public health and so health and allied health. But this has been adapted by different disciplines as a good criteria to determine authorship. And so many journals are using this. And so when you submit your paper, they will ask you to indicate that you have fulfilled this. All right. So they have 4 criteria. So these criteria need to be met all of them need to be met, not 1 or 2 or 3. The 4 need to be met in a whole. All right. So you must have contributed substantially to conception and design. See, that is 1. Conception and design is 1 in this category. In acquisition of data is 2, or analysis and interpretation of data. This means that somebody may have been here, but has not been here, or not been here. So you need to meet one of these 3 conditions in this category. Then you go to the other category, has contributed to the drafting of the article or revising it. Okay, it can be drafting or revise it in it, critically for important intellectual content. So it's possible that you may not be there when the paper was drafted, but you meet them at point of revising it critically. All right, and you have agreed to be accountable for all aspects of the work to ensure that questions related to the accuracy or integrity of any part of the work are appropriately investigated and resolved. And this is what we started when we indicated your accountability, responsibility, accountability to the work. And finally, you have given your approval. Every author of the paper must give approval for the paper. You must give approval for the paper. So if you have a paper that you have written with others, please don't submit without getting approval from everybody. This is not about how fast. It's not about how speed you want this to go. It's about the value we are adding to the society. And so as scientists, because we have a social contract, we need to meet the highest standard that is there for what we do. And this you need to respect. So these 4 items are required to meet by every author of a paper. But before you include somebody, ensure that they meet this. Okay, authorship to contribution. Many journals now have moved, not just giving list of authors, they ask you to indicate the contribution of each person in the authorship list. Some of them have templates they give you too. Of course, many people still play games with that. But these are all to ensure that we are imputing dignity into what we are doing as scientists. Unethical authorship practices, common honorary or guest authorship. Honorary or guest authorship. This is where somebody is handed the authorship on a platter of gold. You did nothing. You did not meet any of those criteria. The paper is to be submitted tomorrow, and somebody meets, we have a paper we're submitting tomorrow. Can you please join us to be there? Yeah, please include my name, and this is my email. And no, that is fraud. That is not a good practice, and we shouldn't encourage that. So many times your supervisors come, they are not part of the work, and they tell you, oh, no, you have to put my name there. The last course we had last week, and yeah, this week too, finish it this week. Somebody was saying that my supervisor said, you wouldn't graduate if you don't put the name of my son, 11-year-old, in your paper. That is fraud. That is fraud. and we need to be careful about this. Ghost authorship. Here is somebody, it's the opposite of the other one. Somebody has written the paper, but it's not part of the authorship. Somebody has written the paper, it's not part of the authorship. So many times people send their papers to a company to prepare, scientific writers, and they're the ones who wrote the paper for you. And then, of course, you pay them money, and then they are not part of the authorship. And then you put your name and you submit. That is ghost authorship. It's unethical. In this case, you have not met the criteria. The criteria that has been set by ICMJE as authorship criteria. Yeah, acknowledgement. Those not meeting, it's not that you don't need to acknowledge everybody's work. You acknowledge everybody's work. Those who meet authorship should be placed in the authorship. Those who meet acknowledgement should be placed in the acknowledgement. Okay, so those not meeting the authorship should be put in the acknowledgement. So I think this is clear. That is where I stop today. That's where I stop. I know that there may be questions and burning questions there. Remember, this is tips and tricks. You go back and then engage your institutions, engage your colleagues. That is the essence, because these are burning issues and many people are dying in silence. You don't need to die in silence. You have a pledge you have given to the society, and you need to defend that mandate. You need to defend it with all you've got. On Sunday, we are having the third edition of the Science Seminar Series 2022. Please come to listen to the field of biochemistry and what is happening in Africa. All right, next tips and tricks we'll be working on is how to craft a standout scientific presentation. So please join us next time. I can take just 3 hands. I see some hands already. Helena, and if there are other hands, 2 more hands. Yeah, Helena, Dabota, and Cosmos Owuda. I will take those 3. Helena, you go.
Thank you, Prof. Please, my concern is how to measure contribution, significant contribution. Is there a way to look at it?
Yeah, so you follow those standards. Was the person part of the conception? The person acquired the data, or analyze, or interpret? So that is the first part. Then you go to the other part, you answer. So these 4 aspects need to be met. That is the standard. And I think if you pay close attention to it, you wouldn't miss it. Which means that the person needs to have played a role in the research process until the manuscript is written, in one way or the other, in those aspects. Is it clear to you, Helena?
Yes, please, Prof. Thank you.
All right, then I have Dabota, unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you very much, sir, for the lecture. My question is, in a case where there's a research collaboration, and as you said, approval should be given by all the authors before the article should be submitted, which is good. But in a case where someone refused to give approval for submission of the article to a journal because she's not the first author, what should be done?
What do you mean it's not the first author? The person is not the first author.
The person is, yes, because the
person wants to be the first author.
Yes, but does not qualify to be the first author.
If you don't qualify, you don't qualify. It's not an emotional thing.
No, I mean, but refuse to give, because of that, and I refuse to give approval. For
Then the person should be taken out of the authorship list and put in the acknowledgement.
Oh, okay.
Because you need to defend that. The person may protest to the journal, okay? But you should have your facts to defend that this person is not qualified to be the first author because the person who wrote the paper is this, okay? So you need to defend that. But if the person refuses to give a consent, because you need to give that approval, and if the person has not met that criteria, I mean, does not give that approval, I mean that criteria is not met. And so the person should be moved to acknowledgement and removed from the list of the authorship. All right, then I have Cosmos Onwood there, lastly. Cosmos, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Okay, thank you for the lecture. My question is this. Do we have international or regional bodies that is to which complaints can be made about lead authorship and other such problems that can arise in the process of drafting up or putting up a scientific paper?
You should send it to the journal. The journal should be the responsible place if there is any problem with that.
What I mean is this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, what I mean is this. You have issues about who should be the lead author.
Okay. So
All
you
right.
have not submitted the paper before then?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So when the paper is being, in fact, when you are organizing the project, that is the best place to discuss authorship. When the project is in the process of conception, execution, discuss the authorship. But if you didn't, and then the problems start coming, every institution has ethics committee. That is where this goes. So go to your ethics committee and present the complaint, and they will guide you. Their role is not imposed in it, they will guide you. So they will take this guideline because it's an international guideline and discuss with the authors and provide direction of where you should go. All right. So I have a question here. What is different between lead author and corresponding? The lead author is the same person as the first author, not necessarily the corresponding author. So the corresponding author is the one the authors, all the authors have agreed to correspond with the journal or with people who, after the paper is published, may contact the authors to ask some questions. So the person is assigned to do that work, and it may not necessarily be the lead or first author. Okay, you need to choose that quite wisely, because the person who is the first author now may have a short-term span in that institution and may be leaving. And so the published paper is a live document for a long time. And so if this person is leaving the institution soon and will be leaving behind leaving behind the data and all those that have involved, all these things involved in the study, if you get correspondence that may lead you to dig into the data again, the person who is leaving may not be the right person to receive that corresponding authorship. So when you choose corresponding authorship, you choose it with the mind that the goal is not just to show off there, but somebody who can be a liaison to the journal and as well post liaison to the general public and scientific community going forward. All right. Sorry, those who are raising their hand, our time is fast spent and we'll have to end here. I wish you a wonderful weekend. Now you can unmute yourself if you want to, and I wish you all the best. So see you on Sunday if you join us, and of
Thank
course,
you.
next
Thank you,
edition.
Prof. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ola.
Ghana, Prof.
Bye.
Thank you for it.
That's what he said about
Young Prof. Prof, when will you be coming to Ghana?
When you want me to come?